So I made myself some popcorn to enjoy the fight of the century. Hypocrites versus hypocrites. Brought to you by our good friends at the Advanced Source subreddit, who banned me under the claim of wanting to stop the infighting. I'm going to eat this popcorn as I read through this interesting little comment thread where clearly infighting is happening there anyway. Let's start off with our favorite commenter, Golden 24. Sorry, Golden Joe 24. It's nice it is to have the numbers of these nailed down to well not cost effective and things are cost effective becomes good league even can one hit KO some extra stuff with boost. It's just not a very deep or interesting meta, which is why even the most of the remaining diehard fans don't want to play one versus on one. That first part is actually a sound point. No, that's not sarcasm. I first got interested in foreseeing that tech units have relative weaknesses to their lower cost counterparts that don't rely on cost. So, something to showcase that no, it would not be some arms race. There's incentive to care about learning the gameplay itself. That second part, I agree there. What I blame is the lack of incentive for considering things like flanking. As I have pointed out in the past, brute forcing should be more of a mighty glacier's privilege. Of course, who really brings this up brings up the concept of flanking is Checkmark Games, the makers of Shattered Throne. I need only point out how ghouls in Shattered Throne reward flanking because vicious adds up fast if given the chance. There's also the Fey Courts in general, designed in general to be flankers, which ironically made it harder to make sure they were well balanced, and that's out the top of my head at least. How does it take everybody else, myself included sadly, so long to consider these concepts more actively? Of course, Chip Bars adds a response to Golden Joe's comment. But it's exactly what it needs. It doesn't have units with a bunch of different abilities, but it didn't create a lot too. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. By the way, where's the mentions of flanking? I'm seeing from you is active hate of C units as a concept rather than their clear execution problems in the Advanced Source games. It doesn't even make sense that the cruiser, or any decent sized boat really, literally can't use its weapon against land units. Realistically, there would be so many options. And this is off the top of my head. How often does the word flanking spring to mind in the Advanced Force series? Play through it again and let me know. I can't imagine it will be a lot. But problems with flanking or no, Golden Joe has this to say to Chip Bars is coming. You just gave a very good argument for it not being deep. You're gonna like it if it's not. To be fair, and I haven't forgotten that Golden Joe is the same person who claimed that literally anything I say, literally anything I say is more obnoxious than anything in a community that includes Chip Bars' general material. Advanced Source is about involving a simplicity. Of course, that just makes it clear that Chip Bars has an ego. He brags when he's bragging about being a super fan of Advanced Source since 9/11. Unfortunately, Chip Bars being an arrogant racial stereotype doesn't change that he has sycophantic supporters like rwbonesy, who has this to say. Golden Joe 24 is just salty. Love how you get the term salty there, buddy. Almost like you're proving my point that the Advanced Source subreddit shit is full of Darwinistic garbage that is determined to turn a strategy game into thoughtless garbage no less. Oh wait, you are. Now here's Golden Joe's response, and one that is ultimately hypocritical. Yeah, you're not a true fan if you criticize the work. Yeah, how long have I been calling out the Advanced Source series problems? I forget. But I do know is why I was banned from the Advanced Source subreddit shit. Not to mention why Golden Joe would claim that literally anything coming out of my mouth is worse than the sort of material you come to from a guy who mocks lust-induced murder victims. The worst part about it is how if Golden Joe weren't the pot calling the kettle black, he would actually have a good point. Unfortunately, his actions from before, and arguably his actions even now, proving that there is infighting, with or without me, just undermine it. Oh, and speaking of comments that are rich, RW Bonesy responds, all you ever do here is spit on people. That's funny. By the way, RW Bonesy, I know you did that. Oh, only 5 times a post. Maybe I should have had an extra bag of popcorn ready for this. Golden Joe's response works just as well, by the way. I'm actually not sure who you even are. Please share some of your quality commentary with us. This would be good. Yeah, it is good. What? Watching you and RW Bonesy fight to determine which one of you is the bigger hypocrite. Saying the opposite sex could stand to treat me with more respect and dignity, because I gladly slapped the popcorn with my wife. I had one. And now I haven't forgotten what that implies given my height. RW Bonesy doesn't know when to quit. I can say the same thing about you, kiddo. I love how you call anybody kiddo troll. And I also love how you ban people for calling you out for garbage. And back to Golden Joe. Wait a minute. No, you could, because you're supposed to be familiar with my posting habit, you know. People deciding to know you. You know, that's actually pretty funny. I'm not being sarcastic there either. It actually is funny. Not because of Golden Joe being a hypocrite. No, he actually turned RW Bonesy trolling against itself. I actually would be supporting Golden Joe if he weren't so abrasive to begin with, like he wasn't providing a disclaimer that I was playing devil's advocate about Cloud and Smash 4. Surprisingly, RW Bonesy actually has a point about Golden Joe's behavior. Every damn time I read this Reddit and see a post from you, it's usually you bitching about something or someone. It isn't the day to have it on the night, but goddamn you read it. Now that complaint about Golden Joe actually works. If only because it shows how Golden Joe is on the opposite extreme of RW Bonesy. I'll say I'm surprised again. Nevertheless, however, both of them are still at unwelcome extremes, no matter how opposite. And RW Bonesy is still fond of anger shaming, especially since he's still using name calling such as calling Golden Joe as weenie. It's not like Golden Joe is much better. If I find what the critiques trigger you little snowflake, well then let's go back to the top. There's some of your wonderful posts so we can unlock your positivity, or just bitch at people for having a different opinion, whatever works for you, snowflake. But now, I'm hanging out people's snowflake golden shark. Like it's so good to be manly, even when it ultimately invites strength without compassion. Second, you just told me that very second thing you offer as a clearly worse option, which was just bitch at me for having a different opinion. But hey, whatever works for you, snowflake. I'm just enjoying this show. Oh wait, no more responses. Darn, it's over. At least RW Bonesy got pwned. Oh, and a bonus line that didn't show up on the topic by Arrow Area. It doesn't just one of those people who think the only game they can have them are the boring and chatty forex for hardcore mature gamers is I did not know Battalion War, Game Boy War 3 and Shattered Throne were grand strategy forex games. Wait a minute. So what's the moral of the story? Simple. If you ban somebody thinking what they do causes increasingly more entertaining, but simply by being a scapegoat, inciting happens anyway. And you will consequently make your community worse with arbitrary reasons. Congratulations, Later Chuck. You proved you're a historic failure. In other words, next week when Tiny Mail gets released, I will be streaming it. And also, January 21st will be Game Boy World 3 Day. Look forward to both.